Well, hey guys, welcome to my latest project. This is the Eflite Cessna 150, the tricycle version. I got a really good deal on this airplane, and you can probably see why. It needs a lot of help, but this is the type of project I want to take on right now. This is one of my favorite airplanes to fly in the whole world. It has everything. It flies amazingly, slow speed. It also does aerobatics. So let me just show you what I'm going to do here. What I had to do in the beginning here is I had to replace the rudder servo here, and it also controls the nose gear. So I replaced that with a larger servo from Hobby King. So a lot of the flaws that are happening with this airplane is the foam here. So I decided to get some Foam Tack foam filler. I've never used this before. I'm going to go ahead and try and use this for the for those bits right there. And also you can see that the paint needs a lot of bit of work here. So I'm going to do a full paint job in here. I'm going to take off the racing stripe here, and I'm going to be painting from about the tail numbers here. I'm going to paint down through here and to about the very first portion of the landing gear. I'm going to paint the whole thing blue, and I've got this Rust-Oleum here. And I use a bit of primer to start with, but this is the blue that it's going to be. I'm going to put a picture up in the up here, and it's going to show what this airplane, what I want it to look like when it's all done. Now, the previous owner of this airplane said, "Oh, it wasn't crashed. I just, I had a hard landing or so." Well, the front landing gear was definitely bent way off to the one side. The spar had some cracks in it, so I did some repairs to the spar. And a couple improvements that I'm going to make to this airplane is that I'm going to put a magnet in the hatch here, which I've already started right here. I put one side of the magnet here. This upper hatch tends to always blow off during flight, so that's going to have a nice magnet in it. This main hatch also is just a clip, so it doesn't actually get secured by magnets. But I think what I'm going to do, because I've actually had this piece of tape here as I've been flying it recently, I think I'm going to actually throw some hinges in there, because it is actually a really nice hinge spot that even if this does pop open, it's not going to go anywhere. You're not going to lose it in the next field over. So that is what I'm being challenged with today. So I'm just going to do a little bit of paint work here and some patchwork with the Foam Tack foam filler. Okay guys, so here's progress so far. There was some pitting that was going on up here. As you can see, that I spread it out as thin as I could, and then I sprayed some water on top of it to make it as smooth as I could. Same thing up here. You can see the foam's pretty dirty, but I filled in some of the little gappy spots there, and the worst was probably back here. Anyway, I've flown this airplane a ton. It flies great, just like it as if it were brand new. And I can't wait to get this thing in the air when it's looking nice and spiffy. Okay guys, here we are. We're pretty much ready for paint. I've plastered this thing with a lot of coats of this Varathane polyurethane. It's the same thing as polyacrylic. I did a lot of repair to the roof of the canopy here. You can see it's all different colors because I was using the Foam Tack foam filler, and unfortunately it doesn't really get to a nice sandable consistency, at least the can that I did. It kind of stays a little tiny bit gummy, so it's not like spackle. But anyway, there's a lot of pitting over here. I filled it all in. It looks a weird color, but that's because I was using sandpaper, but it's not a huge deal. So a couple of things that I did here is I actually improved this hatch here. when it would sit in before, it would actually sit below this level. So I put a little piece of wood down here to compensate for that. I also put a magnet, a very, very strong magnet here and here, so that the hatch will not blow off anymore, because that was a big problem with this airplane. So when this goes in there, it's very, very difficult for me to pull that up. So once again, I use the spackle, or the foam filler. There was a bunch of little chunks taken out of the tail here. You can see that it's been sanded the best that I could, and polyacrylic over the top. So what the many, many layers of polyacrylic does to the foam is it gives it like a skin to it. You can actually not feel it. It's not quite as soft as it used to be. This whole top of this canopy used to be super soft foam. Actually, when you pull this up, it feels a little bit like the beer cooler foam. So if you look at this stuff, it's just kind of soft. But when you come up here, it's got a nice hard shell to it almost, and when it dries, it really holds everything together. So it's gonna give this airplane a nice glossy look when I'm all done. So I'm gonna head over to paint and take that off, a little polyurethane booger there. I'm gonna head off to paint, and I will see you guys in just a bit. All right, guys, looking pretty good here. So I am just using the Rust-Oleum Brilliant Blue gloss. And there's still some very lumpy, bumpy sections over here. So after I paint this and I go back through with a new can, polyacrylic, but also sand down some of the high spots that I see here. Okay guys, so that brings us to our wings. I think I'm gonna get rid of this racing stripe theme here. I'm gonna go ahead and take this sticker off. I think the whole top of the wing is gonna be blue, and the blue is gonna wrap around to about that much underneath of the blue, and just leave the rest of it white. But you can see what I'm dealing with here. And you guys can just see there's tons of pitting in the wing here, probably from when the guy was transporting it. But yeah, it was used and abused. But you take the foam filler, go ahead and fill in the majority of these bad looking things here. Okay guys, so I decided just to mainly take care of the major spots on the wing here. These are some pretty deep poke holes that are in here. You can see some of these kind of like runner things are just like scrapes across the wing, so I'm just gonna leave those. Not a huge deal. So one thing that I do with this foam filler from Foam Tack, and like I said, I'm not super happy with it because it's not super sandable. For whatever reason, mine kind of dries to a gummy texture, so you can kind of sand it, kind of not. Is once I get it on, I spray it with just some water. This one happens to have a little bit of Dawn dish soap in it as well, but basically once you get it on there, you kind of spray it a little bit, and you take a gloved hand and just kind of smooth it out, and it really kind of finds its own level because it thins out the top layer, and it also allows the foam filler to kind of go down into the crevices. So I'm going to start repairing the fronts of the wings here, and then I'm going to move on to the next one. Okay guys, skipping ahead quite a bit here. I did some more repair to the top of the wings here. I still haven't gotten it all, but that's all been sanded out. And I think having the top of the wings completely blue is a little bit too much. So these panel lines right here, going through here, this center section is all gonna be white. So when I repaint this, I'm gonna paint it back to white. You can see tons and tons and tons of little nicks and scrapes and everything. So I just got done painting the lower section of this white. What I was going for was to have a super smooth fuselage. I didn't quite get it there. I didn't have quite enough time to keep spackling and then putting the polyacrylic on there and sanding and everything. So I just got done painting this. It's still just a little bit wet. I'm gonna go ahead and pull the tape off here, and I'll show you guys what it looks like. Okay guys, the white came out pretty good. I have a couple of spots where I'm going to need to repair the lines here. This is probably a spot where I didn't get to sand very well. Probably that just didn't adhere. Looks like it's kind of the same spot on both sides, so really not too much repair, but those are just spot repairs. So I could still sand and get some of these slight bumps out of here, but I think I'm good at this point. It looks so much better than it did. Okay guys, I'm gonna do a quick walk around here and show you what the airplane looks like. This is in my driveway. It is angled up here, so the perspective looks a little weird sometimes. But I decided to paint these upper panels white after it was all completely blue. And the funny thing is that actually brought out a lot more of the pitting and marks where the blue kind of hit it a little bit better, but it's still looking pretty good. On the side here, so all the white portions I decided to just not leave it plain foam, and it was all kind of scratched up and everything. So I decided to paint all the white portions white. So if you look at the wheel pans here, I did the back wheel pans. I still need to do the upper first one. You can see it's all kind of nicked up there. But I also painted all the white portions of the tail white. So I went from kind of just adding the blue to adding everything. So as you guys know, when you start taping on top of things that you've taped before, painted before, you know, it's really difficult because you gotta not lift up the paint afterwards. And I did have some paint lift when I was painting everything here, so it was hard. There's a couple flaws still. So like when I had to go back and repaint here, you can't really see it on my camera, but there's a lighter patch of blue here. I was just spraying the spray into a cap and painting it back on, but as it would do that, it would be slightly lighter than if you sprayed it right on the fuselage. So that was a problem. So it's not something that you're going to be able to really see. You can kind of see the splotchiness here. Here's parts where I repainted. It's slightly darker here, where on the fuselage it was slightly lighter. So it was kind of frustrating, but I'm happy with everything here. So you can see the glossiness here of this upper hatch. It's still not as flat as I would like, but if you run your hand over it, it feels very, very smooth, which is cool. You know, unless you're looking at it at an angle with a light shining off it like that, you will never see that. Yeah, so really all I need is a spinner, and I'm gonna go over to Pegasus Hobbies and just buy one of theirs. I have the window decals coming from Cali Graphics. Now I got some in. They were from somebody else's project where it kind of had a green tint behind the windows, and the green tint really clashed with this blue. So I asked Cali Graphics if they could make me a set of the exact same decals, but with a silver background, almost like the stock, but it has the pilot on the sides of the windows and everything. So can't wait to get the window decals on. And like I mentioned, I'm gonna do some black pinstriping on the side here. So I will put some photos up of the final of this airplane, and you'll see this flying at the end of the video. The other thing that's really kind of frustrating, and I don't know what this is gonna do to the paint, is the guy who had the antennas in here previously. He put CA on there, so there's like half of the antennas still stuck in those tubes, and I have some new ones to go in there, but I've got to put some acetone in there, and hopefully it doesn't mess up my paint too bad. So all right guys, there's the final of the Cessna 150. I put a lot of work into this thing, and I'm really happy with the way it's looking right now, so hope you guys like it too. Low pass on the runway.